Hey, my friend, Mark Delaney here. So my wife and I spent about 20 years teaching in classrooms. So it gave us a huge advantage in raising our own three kids because we practiced on yours. Other people's kids were at the school, and so literally every day, 5 days a week, you're with a number of hundred kids that you're helping to guide and teach and help them understand life. And so when you're raising a whole bunch of kids in a school setting, you go home to your three kids and you're like, now I understand. Of course, as a parent, it's really unfair that one of the most important endeavors of our life, we get one chance at it. That's kind of overwhelming. I love to give back and to help parents have a perspective on what they're even trying to do. Because let's face it, life is going fast. Our kids are going fast. And next thing you know, they're like 12 and you're like, time's running out. Like, what are we even doing here? So here's what I love to do. I love to think like this about life. I think life can be like a puzzle with 10,000 pieces, and it can be so overwhelming to consider, how do I put together this mess? Well, here's what I think we need. We need to have a picture. Every puzzle comes with a picture that you can look at, and you can pick up any puzzle piece, and you kind of know where it goes. The good news about parenting is it's not exact. There is nothing exact about parenting. It's kind of like puzzle pieces. You just need to know kind of where they go. And so what I want to do is draw a picture to give you kind of a 30,000-foot view of parenting, and hopefully it'll relieve some of the pressure you feel and give you some perspective and some confidence on how to raise your own kids. I hope this helps. Check out this picture. There's some points that I want to make about this picture. When your child down here, when they're born, they have no control over their life. On the other hand, as a parent, you have complete control over their life. But from very young ages, you try to help them gain control over their life as you give up control over their life with things like teaching them how to use a spoon, teaching them how to walk, eventually potty train, teach them how to put their socks on, teach them how to tie their shoes. And the journey looks something like this, really. It's not a straight line. It's a messy up and down line, because as a parent, when you're trying to relinquish responsibility and ownership of your child's life over to them, it's a messy process because they don't learn the first time or the second time or the 15th time. So the goal is that a child, by the time that they are 18 years old, that they are somewhere up here in terms of the amount of control or ownership they take with their own life. But for this to happen, the parent has to get somewhere down here. So let's look at some principles. I've kind of come up with 3 different phases of parenting for this picture. One is the ownership phase, and this is where you as a parent, you have complete ownership, but you're slowly relinquishing it. And the journey, like I said, is a messy process. The second phase I would call partnership. This is where you're more so working together in this journey called life. And then the third phase is friendship. And the question becomes, what ages do these stages come into play? Partnership, to me, needs to happen. It needs to begin to happen around age 14 to 16. The goal in a partnership, if you think about even just a business partnership, both parties have equal desire in a business succeeding. Hopefully by age 14 to 16, your child is already starting to take enough ownership to where they have vision and drive for their own life. And so in this partnership, the parent continues to relinquish responsibilities as the child is learning to take on responsibility for their own life. The friendship phase, frankly, I think it happens after age 18. It may happen as old as like maybe 22 years old, because the partnership phase, it may need to extend a little bit beyond age 18, depending on your child, their level of maturity, what they do after high school. But the goal is that this partnership is both people, the parent and the child, are partnering together to help the child take ownership of their life, but the parent has to relinquish control in order for that to happen. This is really, really important. 3 points I want to make about this. First of all, you have to parent with the next phase in mind. From the earliest of stages, when your child is 1, 2, 3, and 4, this process of them taking on responsibility is a daily thought that must be happening as a parent. 18 years can seem like a long time, and when you're potty training, 18 years may seem like eternity. The reality is you have a short amount of time to prepare your child to be a fully functioning adult. And so from the youngest of ages, we must continually and consistently be thinking about relinquishing responsibility and ownership over to our child so that they learn to take ownership of their life. Secondly, release control as they learn to take control. No, but notice, and release control so they take control. I think as a parent, we would love it if every time we gave them responsibility, they immediately took responsibility. If we think like this, what we'll end up doing is parenting out of fear, and we're going to end up keeping control because we want the journey to be less messy. If we keep a lot of control, our child is going to end up developing like this. And now the jump to adulthood has become greater, but now they're 16, 17, even 18 years old, and maybe controlling the process has made it seem neater, but your child's going to pay the price, and you will as well, because now they're 17 years old. And all of this maturing that needed to happen, we didn't let it happen because we kept control. So sometimes we like it when, okay, I'm going to, I see that you're taking more responsibility. I'm going to give you more control. I like that. We all like that. But sometimes as a parent, you have to have the courage to relinquish control and kind of hold your breath and see if they will then rise to the challenge. But it's going to be messy, and that's okay. Third thing I want to say, just what I said, let this journey be messy. This isn't reckless. You're not just taking your hands off of your kids and saying, do whatever you want. But it's a messy, uncontrolled journey. I hope this has been helpful to you. In the many years of teaching in the classroom, I see how parents oftentimes, we want to keep control, and it can kind of make the journey look better, but ultimately we're handicapping our child and preventing them from taking ownership of their life. Once again, I labeled these 3 categories. Ownership. As a parent, you have complete ownership at the beginning. Your job is to relinquish ownership throughout the entire journey. Partnership is about this phase between ages like 14 and 18, where really you're working together for the common goal of them being prepared for their life. And the more they take responsibility, the more they take responsibility. But we have to keep relinquishing control, and that sometimes is messy and scary. By the way, let me touch on this friendship category. At some point, it's time for your child to take on their life. And for that to happen, we need to lovingly take hold of the role of a friend. As a parent, we could feel like, well, I get to keep control of you because I'm your parent. We won't say those words, but as a parent, we would like to keep control of them. That may seem like it's helpful. Actually, when you want to keep control of your kids when they're adults, they will want to run away from you. That, or they may choose to live in your basement because they like the comfort of your control. So as a parent, think about this through the teenage years. Your goal is not just relinquishing control so that they can take ownership. Your goal is that by the time they graduate, go off to college, live their life, you take on the role of a friend. And they will appreciate that. And they will want to come home. They'll be more likely to come home for holidays and for visits because you've become their friend and you no longer have some kind of invisible leash that you try to keep onto their life. I hope you found that helpful. I know that parenting can be overwhelming. It can feel like every day is a brand new 10,000-piece puzzle. The good news is that picture on the cover, it doesn't change. You can have this long-range goal in mind. You can be parenting toward the future, and it can make it a little bit easier today. So I've given you kind of a 30,000-foot view. If you need help with more of the nitty-gritty, I have a couple of video courses I produced. One is called The Confident Father, because I have found when, as a man, if you feel confident as a dad, your decision-making is so much better if you're just confident. So with that course, I help men be confident in what they do as a father. The other course I might recommend to you, we put together, is called How to Discipline Your Kids with Confidence. Because raising a child, you're constantly having to figure out how to train and teach them. Disciplining your child really doesn't mean punishing them. What it really means is you're teaching them and training them. So they give you lots of opportunities to do that. So this course we put together is on how to think in such a way to be confident on how you're disciplining your kids on a daily basis. I hope this has been helpful. If so, like and subscribe. I love to create content to help people live their best, bold life. Now you go take on the day.